My mom ordered 2 different pizzas from 2 different places cause she had coupons and they both got here at the same time. So we had a Pizza Hut delivery guy and Domino's delivery guy both standing by our front door, and the Domino's guy looks like at the Pizza Hut guy and proceeds to sing "Why Can't We Be Friends?" while the Pizza Hut guy just glares at him. Once my friend was waiting for her mom to pick her up and she called her mom and her mom said, "I'm on my way. The traffic is just slow. I'm coming." And my friend went, "Mom, I called the house phone." My pre-calc teacher got kicked out of the movies once for yelling out driving scores during Titanic as people jumped off the boat. One time this dude was being stupid, so I said, "Well, you can't spell stupid without you." And he got really angry and shouted, "Well, there's an I in stupid too." And I just stared at him for a long time. When I was around 5 I asked my mom why some people were different colors, and she said, "Because God wanted lots of flavors." And let me tell you, that was the wrong thing to say, because for the next 3 years I thought God ate people when they died. Today, I fucked up by buying a bottle of wine at the movies. Went to fancy movie theater with date, decide to buy a bottle of wine, go back to bar, ask for 2 glasses. Bartender says he needs 2 IDs. I'm too lazy to go back to seats to grab date's ID. Tell him I'm alone and was embarrassed to ask for just 1 glass. He is clearly sympathetic. Idiot me then tries to sell the story and continue on about how lonely I've been recently. He tells me he's off in a few minutes and insists on watching the movie with me. I try to fight it, but I could only argue so much without giving away the truth. Bartender is insistent. I text my date what's happening, go back to theater with my new date, sit a few rows in front of my first date. She has the stupidest grin on her face as me, and the bartender jarred sit a couple rows in front of her. He ends up being super cool and bought me and him another bottle during the movie. Movie ends. I thank him for his gesture. He didn't even ask for my number or anything. I think Jard was just a genuine guy trying to comfort someone. Met back up with my date in the parking lot and thankfully she found the whole thing hilarious. I don't deserve Jard. My mom dropped her iPhone in the toilet, so she fished it out and desperately yelled, "Siri, I dropped you in the toilet. What do I do?" And Siri replied, "Tara, you have 28 events in July. That's a lot." And then died. More dramatic than Romeo and Juliet. I saw a really cool butterfly expert man on PBS and was so in awe of him and his butterfly knowledge. I tracked down the episode online to see how to spell his name and found his Twitter and followed him, only for the next day to awaken to him having read not only my webcomic but also my live tweets saying how I wanted to marry the butterfly man. He said he was flattered. Anyway, the moral of the story is please don't underestimate how far down your Twitter board entomologist will scroll, and also the internet was a mistake. Once in kindergarten a girl asked me to write Supergirl on her arm, since I was the only kid who could write, so I wrote Sh on her arm and I hid under the table for like 30 minutes. Then the teacher found me and yelled at me, then called my parents and my dad laughed so hard he cried. Last year one night me and my old roommates were all playing Twister and Mike was on the spinner, and halfway through the game he kind of mumbled to himself, "I sure hope I'm calling these right." And everyone in the room simultaneously remembered that Mike was colorblind. When I was in 4th grade we were doing a math lesson and all of a sudden the teacher's like, "Have you ever seen a pregnant bird?" And everyone's just like, "No." And then she slams her hand on the table and screams, "That's because they don't exist." And one kid in the back just blurts out, "What does this have to do with math?" So I get home and there's this random kid on my couch and he's like, "Alright man, I don't wanna hurt you, just put her stuff down and get on the ground, I just want her money." And I f'king almost puked. I was like, "OMG please no, I don't have any money, I'm only 15. Then he was like, "Nah man, I'm just f'king with you, I'm her brother's friend, he's in the shower, I'm just waiting for him." One time in math class my teacher was really pissed at us and he was yelling, "Do you even know basic math? Do you know addition? What's 2 plus 2? Corey, what's 2 plus 2? And poor Corey wasn't paying attention, so I leaned over to him and whispered 7, and he blurted out 7, and I have never laughed harder, and I doubt I ever will. In like 5th grade my whole family was driving home from some trip and I was listening to Kids with Guns by the Gorillaz on my iPod and it made me feel really rebellious because I was a kid and according to that song kids have guns. So when we drove into the garage my dad was like okay we're home and I said shut up dad and he just looked at me for a long time and didn't say anything and I started crying. While putting your favorite condiment on a sandwich, you accidentally make a magical occult symbol and summon a demon. You silently take 2 more slices of bread out of the package and make another sandwich. You put it on a plate with a handful of potato chips and hand it to the demon. He takes the sandwich, smiles, and vanishes in a puff of demonic smoke. The next day you get that job promotion you were after. There was no contract, no words spoken, you owe nothing, but every now and then another demon pops in for lunch. Demons don't often get homemade sandwiches. WTF my 7-year-old sister just came into my room and gestured for me to follow her and didn't say anything so I did and she lead me into the backyard and she said I'm going to show you my secret and I was like what okay and she took the lid off her portable sandbox and it was filled with water and like thousands of tiny baby tadpoles swimming around and I was like what where did you get these and she said I'm raising them. Humans start out at birth with milk white blood. The more crimes they commit, the darker their blood becomes. One day, you meet your soulmate, skip a few years, and things are amazing. Until your soulmate trips, falls, and exposes black blood. Dude, I have not paid for music since 2006. Oh yeah, I forgot that was a crime. Me too, TBH. You wander through the ruins of a once mighty city. There you see a man grinning at you, wearing a rusted crown. You ask him, why the F would he wear an iron crown? And how the hell he got it wet enough for it to tarnish, at least tilt it, so the outside looks gold, and it doesn't tarnish. What the F? He gets really defensive about it, like weirdly defensive. Oh, he says, oh, I'm sorry I don't, like, carry gilding materials around. Sorry I'm not prepared like you. Where's your crown? Huh, you don't have one. I didn't think so. Watch yourself. When I was like 9 my neighbors asked me to watch their fish and cat while they went on the vacation. And I was like lol K. And while they were gone the fking fish died so when they got home I apologized to the mom. And she was just like no need to apologize. I turned the filter off so they would die because they are too much work. You did nothing wrong. And she gave me $20 and that is a story of my first contracted murder. Sometimes I wake up with a very urgent thought on my mind and it's usually pretty dumb like Jesus un peu root beer fairy tales. But this morning I woke up and sat there for a second and all I could think was, "'Tis I, the French yeast fry." I just laughed out loud in class. Whenever I'm sad I just think about how the Welsh word for microwave is pop-teeping. That helps. Right, so when I started my sociology course in college, my teacher started us off with, well I guess we have to do icebreakers. I'm John, and I fear bears. Why do I fear bears? Because bears can run at 30 miles per hour and Chester Zoo is 30 miles away. That means a bear can be outside the store in an hour. Why would a bear be here? Because they can smell fear, and I fear them. My English teacher accused me of plagiarizing an essay I wrote about my own life. My friend got accused of plagiarizing in junior high because she used the word sweets instead of candy and our teacher thought that the word sweets was too advanced for our vocabulary. The other night I tried to make a curry and I got chili burns all over my face. So I thought to myself, hang on, doesn't milk soothe chili burns? It does. And I couldn't Google because I couldn't see. So I just had to blindly feel my way to the fridge and pour out a bowl of milk and then plant my face in the bowl of milk. Anyway, at that point the rice cooker went off and triggered a power surge which turned my electricity off, which I didn't notice at first because I had my face in a bowl of milk, and when I did emerge from the dairy prison I thought I had gone blind with chili burns. So now I don't really cook much. Friendly reminder that yesterday, when my mom took me to Walmart she left me alone in the toilet paper section and this guy started hitting on me, and I said sorry, I'm a lesbian, and he was like oh my god I'm so sorry I thought you were a boy. Soda just spewed out my nose. That was a plot twist. One time I was playing a game online and there was this kid who was probably around 8 who just kept talking throughout the whole match, and half the time he'd start his sentences with "not to be rude but," and then say he got candy for Easter or something, and it was adorable. But a little bit later in the match we were looking for the remaining enemies and he says "not to be rude, but I see them all. I'm God, and I've never been more terrified in my entire life." Today, I f***ed up by calling locksmith when I was locked out of my car. I'll preface this by saying I'm usually not a stupid man, but I was at the end of my third 16-hour shift in Arrow, and I was very tired. I'll make this quick. I got off work, went out to my car, hit the button for the doors on my remote unlocker. As usual, nothing happened. I tried it a few more times. Battery must be dead. I stand there for 10 minutes, mashing the little button, hoping for enough juice to open the doors. Nada. I call a locksmith, explain that I'm locked out of my car. He says he'll be right over. 20 minutes later he arrives. He walks up with his tools, inserts a thing that looks like a blood pressure cuff in the door jamb. He starts making conversation as it inflates, pushing the door open. "So locked your keys in the car?" "No problem sir, I'll have it open in a minute." "No, my keys are right here. My key fob is dead," I replied. He stops and for about 10 seconds, doesn't say a word. He sees my keys in my hands, takes them from me, inserts them in the lock, and opens the door. I was mortified. I was so in a habit of opening the doors with my remote fob that I entirely forgot that keys could be used to unlock cars manually. He started laughing so hard I thought he was going to have an aneurysm. After he stopped laughing, he told me there was no charge. The story he'd have to tell was worth the drive out. When I was 8 I drew this comic about two girls kissing, and my mom was outraged, and I thought it was because my art wasn't good enough. So I kept trying to draw girls kissing, and she sent me to therapy, and my therapist tried explaining homosexuality to me, and I didn't even know what that had to do with my art skills. The first time I heard an adult say the F word was when I was in 4th grade and we were doing some project that involved us baking cookies together as a class. My teacher, Ms. Lindsay, who was real sweet, was demonstrating for everybody, and she asked if anyone knew how to crack an egg, and I really didn't know how to crack an egg, but I'm a go-getter, so I raised my hand and she called on me. I instantly knew I was in trouble at that point, but I'd seen my dad crack eggs hundreds of times, so I figured, yeah no, it can't be that hard. So I grabbed the egg, but I had no sense of how softly you're supposed to tap an egg to crack it, so I just slam it against the desk and splatter our egg 10 feet in every direction, and my teacher said, "What the F? Done?" You pick up a small device. On its small screen it simply says 1 skill point remaining, and a list of 8 attributes. You click on strength and instantly feel your muscles stiffen a little. The screen now says level up to gain more skill points. Jump cut to me in a shady alley, armed with a tennis racket swinging at rats with wild abandon. An immortal being has the ability to share their power with one soul and make them immortal too, so they can have a companion for all the years if they choose. Only one though. This being has had countless lovers and friends, and they have seen them all fade away as time passes. The being tells one of their lovers, whom they've been with for 10 years or so, about their ability, and the lover begs to have the energy shared with them so they can be together for eternity. "I can't," the immortal says. "Why not?" the lovers asks. "I'm already sharing my power." "With who?" The immortal looks down. "My cat." Cold-blooded. I f***ing lost it.